Hey there, and welcome to this installment of coverage from The Big One, which is a tournament, a charity tournament put on by The Final Swindle, care of Karen and Zeramis. So without further ado, you should see on your screen the matchup for this particular game. And if you want further details, they'll be in the video description below. Let's hop into it.
All right, a grand student bringing Pupil Hale, and Wych bringing Plantiyouth, the Marquis of Birds. Some lovely names. I love the simple names in KeyForge. They're uncommon and just so funny.
Oh yeah,
Pupil Hale. It could just be a character in a book.
Yeah, indeed. So we got looks like Pupil Hale is a Worlds Collide deck versus, of course, a Mass Mutation deck. Pretty easy to pick that out with those enhancements. Although that sounds like that. We're no longer going to have only one set with enhancements, which is pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. And Wych with player one, turn one play, dropping champion Anafiel. A great setup. Andrew, a grand student, responding with two Senator Shrixes, not exalting either of them, but it's great to have that resource on the board.
Indeed.
Already.
I'm taking a look at this Pupil Hale deck, and I mean, obviously those Strixes are no longer a factor, but we got some pretty nice synergies here with Tribute and Exile and Six Emperor, in addition to Imperial Forge. So some pretty gross stuff. I think we can probably expect there's going to be some pretty gross stuff in some of these decks. But so it's not just a cool name on that deck. There's definitely some great potential. Some potential options there. So
and there's the Six Emperor and Tribute coming out in opposite order to take care of that champion Anna with the equipped with a gun. So and in Exiles. That's most of the combo pieces. I'm checking for duplicates, but that looks like most of the combo pieces are now in the discard, played for an amber.
Indeed, it's gone. All right, we see a Lethalogica get played, burning through a Burning Glare, if you will, picking up a something diametric charge. You got diametric charge and an entropic swirl. This doesn't seem like we're playing a game that has a lot of creatures right now, or at least they seem to be getting dealt with.
Yes, indeed. Certainly feeling like a bit of a fairer match now that all the Dino combo is in the hole.
Sure.
Everybody with some Logos. Fangs of Gizelheart will purge that group think tank, requiring much less thinking and much less tanking from everyone now that it's off the board. And Quant is now stunned because of Burning Glare, Axiom of Grisk in the pile as well.
Indeed, and it's a rare Sanctum Axiom. If you didn't notice, this of course being a triple Maverick deck.
Yes.
You know, one of them is sort of a little bit of a fraud, but just because it's got the exchange officer that Tirado shifted over into Star Alliance, care of the exchange officer. But pretty cool nonetheless to have a deck that has three Maverick cards. And an Axiom in a deck that has an Axiom in Sanctum in a deck that has Commandeer. That's kind of spicy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. Grand Student responding with Ghost Hawk to unstun their Quant, Fogbank, Regrowth for Strix, which is great, and that allows Wych to forge their first key, going Star Alliance and Countersuit onto Garcia, playing Forging an Alliance to throw a ward onto Garcia. Great move. Great move there. So both players kind of responding tit for tat here with removal, like removing important creatures. Wych just a little bit ahead on forging.
Sure.
Getting that first key in, of course. But
of course, this is KeyForge, so literally anything can happen.
Yes. Yes. Truly neck and neck. Truly neck and neck here. Both players fighting for an advantage. Being able to play Garcia and Countersuit from hand is great. It's looking like a Grand Student might have a couple tools on hand to deal with that.
Indeed. Both players seemingly pretty comfortable with their decks. Seem to be having some pretty quick play. We did see the the classic wild wormhole situation, which always confuses me as I'm watching a game, as a
Right.
Logos turn is played and then Legatus Raptor gets played off of course the wild wormhole, and then a couple more Logos creatures. Then we're back into a Star Alliance turn from Wyke. Ames, thank you for the raid. Welcome one, welcome all. This is a KeyForge tournament that we're doing some commentary on today. It is also a fundraiser for MSF, aka Doctors Without Borders. I do appreciate you bringing the raid over here, Ames. You the best, and I hope you all will enjoy this KeyForge. KeyForge is a game, of course. Maybe not, of course. I'll tell you what it is. It's a game from the mind of Richard Garfield, who, if you are unfamiliar with Richard Garfield, also came up with such games as Magic the Gathering, which you may have heard of. This is a newer game. It's a unique deck game. So instead of purchasing boosters and building a deck, you purchase a complete deck that is 100% unique, including the name as well as the card list. And then there's actually some art on the back of the cards, which you can't see in this online rendition. But yeah, the objective of the game is to forge 3 keys. You forge 3 keys by generating a resource called Ember. And at the beginning of your turn, you can forge a key if you have the requisite amount of Ember. There are, as with many other Richard Garfield games, stuff breaks the rules all the time. It's kind of the, what do they call it? Is it the golden rule? You follow the rules until you have something that lets you break the rules, and KeyForge is not unlike that.
And it looks like Wyke has pulled a little bit ahead here on Amber after their first key, and a Grand Student being kept off of their first. They managed to deploy a decent Saurian board, certainly getting a decent board going. However, they still don't have that key, and Wyke is just 1 Amber away from threatening for their second. Still pretty even match here. If Wyke can pull ahead from this, that'll be very good for them. They managed to pull a Grand Student off of that key during Sanctum, so if they go back to Star Alliance, they'll certainly be able to at least tax Andrew, and by tax I mean maybe take the key cost back up to 6, as we see 2 imprinted Murmooks hit the table. And I do have a soft spot for decks with 2 of those cards, because it is just so fun to get your key cost down to 4 and say, hold on,
yeah
I only do 4 Amber now, what are you gonna do about it?
I love it. Yeah, this is I was gonna say this is kind of an example of where the momentum can really shift. But kind of taking another peek at Wyke's deck, there does not really seem to be a lack of creature control options with the double Contrino. We of course just saw the particle sweep. That spicy Axiom is gone, but there's still a double standardized testing, and there's still some removal yet to be played. If we look at the discard pile, like I don't think either of the standardized testings have been played.
Yes, and there goes a Quintrino Flux to change that delta. Now they've both got two creatures of the house they have the most creatures in. A Grand Student just with that lone Sanitation Engineer, and Wyke 7 Amber to check for their second key, still not letting a Grand Student forge. So getting that momentum that we knew knew they needed to claim to pull ahead here.
Well, we got a little lull here. Thank you as well to Zoke for the $50 donation to the cause.
Awesome. Thank you, Zoke. That's fantastic.
That is amazing. We're just moving right along. We are already at $140 out of our $1,000 goal, and this doesn't include the funds that are going to be donated as a part of the players who did their $10 entry donation. Digital and Ukti, thank you for the follows, and Ukti, thank you for the Prime sub. Oh my goodness, we're flying. You can't hear the notification probably, Zach, but it's just kind of going constantly.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that.
I did intentionally pick a really, really fun notification for the Tiltify donations. So there's a little like corgi that runs around that kind of like waddles, and then it's got one of those sound effects, like I don't know, like a video game when you pick up something. It's kind of like success, da da da. All right, so some stuff's happening here. We got
Yes.
Andrew taking a Saurian turn, fighting some stuff off the board, making use of the Legatus Raptor, so Exalted, to fight with Sanitation Engineer into, what was that, the Sensor Chief?
Yeah, they managed to
Or
reap.
to
with the
reap, I'm sorry.
Sanitation
Reap,
Engineer
yes.
and, discarded a card there. Not able to keep Wyke off of that second key. Neurosiphon hits, which is a great thing to do when you're on 2 keys. Your opponent is on none. But it does look like Andrew, a Grand Student, is going to get to Forge here.
And it's not over yet, but definitely going to be a little bit of work for Andrew to kind of pick back up some momentum here. Of course, the board seems relatively
Mimicry for Axiom. Mimicry for Axiom. I love it. Very good.
Mimicry's got to be like, it's got to be like top 5 cards. It's just like, it's so versatile. And obviously there's some situations where it's not great, like if your opponent just flipped their deck, but there's so many situations where it can be absolutely brutal. Like, let's just take the best card that you have in your deck for this situation. Or, you know, like if you're later on in the game, it doesn't even have to be the best card in the deck. It's like, I can look at your whole deck and figure out the one card that is going to be really useful for me right now. And it's just really, really a versatile card.
Puts that fear in your opponent of, well, unless I stash this in my archives or chain myself for the whole game, they get access to this awesome action card that I want to play on them, you know, with that mimicry later.
Is there in your estimation, Zach, can you think of a more versatile card? Like Nepenthe Seed is probably pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, mimicry is probably the most versatile just because once you play it, then if there's a bit of a discard, then you have all of those choices. You know, you have all the choices out in front of you. It's not many cards give you that much choice depending on the situation. You get a whole deck of action cards to pick from. Lateral Shift. Yep. Lateral Shift is a good shout there. KFPL, definitely. Jupiter, is that you running the KFPL handle? I have no idea who's running that.
I think it's Jupiter. I think it's Jupiter.
If that's Jupiter, hey Jupiter, what's up? Good to see you.
Jupiter has gone by many names on Twitch and on Twitter, so it's kind of a hard time to keep track of which one it is, but it's definitely KFPL. Cards that let you use your opponent's best cards. Yeah, those. I'm just trying to think like if there's if there's something else that you could use your own cards for. And as we've been chatting, the game has just finished. We're doing some, you know, I'm doing a great job commentating here. Just this is my goal, to just ignore the game, let you all watch it, and figure out how things are happening, and then we'll talk about random different stuff. But it does look like Wyke has taken the game on the hands of some pretty nice speed there. Also a really good job holding Grand Student, aka 1-Star, aka Andrew, off of that first key for what seemed like an eternity almost.
Yes.
But overall, you know, turn 10, that's probably a pretty average speed for a game, especially when we're talking decks that are probably have some spice behind them for sure. Yeah.
Wyke only took one more turn while we were chatting. They got a couple of amber off of Free Markets, Potion of Invulnerability, used a Dino Knight to shoot something. So really, Andrew needed a lot more, needed even more amber control, and Wyke did a great job at just keeping the opponent down while advancing. So Wyke played that really well, picked a good deck where they got to actually keep slowing Andrew down all while advancing. Having the Central Chief Garcia plus Encounter Suit certainly helped there, and smart to lean into that. Only swapped into Sanctum when they could still keep a Grand Student off of that first key.
Sure.
In a different house. So yeah, good game there.
Great game indeed. So that means for those again who are not familiar with what's going on, this is a 2-deck survival tournament. So that means a Grand Student 1-Star is going to be hopping on down to I guess there's not. Are there upper and lower brackets? I always assume it is a lower bracket, but it's
not with how this one's being run. No,
yeah,
run it a couple different ways.
I think it's just being run kind of as like maybe straight Swiss thing or something. But so now 1 Star is going to have to swap to his second deck, whereas Wyke will continue to play their first deck in the next round.